up a new and comprehensive licensing system for the professional game. 3. Review the causes of financial stress in the English Football League, the EFL, including the levels of the solidarity payments down the football pyramid. It should decide whether parachute payments made to relegated Premier League clubs were fair and investigate the possibility of salary caps and a mandatory reduction in player wages if relegated. 4. Implement governance reforms at the FA, which are essential to ensure it is truly independent, diverse and representative of English football today. 5. Liaise with supporters' organisations to progress issues that are of concern to fans and provide a greater voice for supporters. 6. Study lessons from abroad and seek to champion supporter involvement in the running of clubs. At that point, we couldn't have known that a counterplot was brewing, with motives diametrically opposed to ours, to make football a game for the few and not the many. Within 6 months of our plan dropping, John W. Henry and Joel Glazer outlined their vision for the future with the European Super League, enabled and supported by Stan Kroenke, Roman Abramovich, Sheikh Mansour and Joe Lewis. Where they saw a chance to make a game for the few, a private club for billionaires hiding away in tax havens or in jurisdictions outside European and UK legislation, we were trying to build a game for the people, to rebalance the direction of travel. We wanted to steer us back to what football was intended to be. They wanted to drive off into the distance with the crown jewels. The truth is that football in this country has been rusting and rotten beneath its glamorous sheen. We've all just muddled along because the Premier League is such good entertainment content, it was easier not to challenge. Pep and Jurgen, Jose and Rafa, Mohamed Salah, Kevin De Bruyne, Eden Hazard, Manchester United's treble, transfer deadline day, big money signings. All of this prime content has distracted us from what football really is and what it could be again. But sometimes there's a breaking point. And a mix of American capitalists, an oligarch about whom evidence before the High Court in 2012 clearly showed had privileged access to Vladimir Putin, and a British tax exile sunning himself in the Bahamas managed to find ours. It was stupid of them, really. But it seems the tensions around COVID and the pandemic panicked them into making their move. Now they can't take it back. A poorly recorded video with a mealy-mouthed apology from John W. Henry or Joel Glazer turning up to the fans' forum for the first time in 20 years isn't going to win our trust. That's gone forever now. In a way, they did us a favour. As you'll discover, without the Super League breakaway, the fan-led review promised by the government might only have focused on EFL finances. Their misjudgment meant the review took in the whole game. That meant the report, Saving Our Beautiful Game, and similar work done by the Football Supporters Association, who had been researching and planning for this moment, were ready for the fan-led review. At the end of it all, when Tracy Crouch published her review, all of our objectives from Our Beautiful Game had been addressed. She recommended an independent regulator. She called for a change to the way TV money is distributed to ensure the pyramid is protected. She called for stricter governance on ownership and for fans to have a stake in their club's decision-making. Where reform is hard, like it can be at the FA, with its statutes dating back to 1863, a new regulator can be empowered to break the logjam and enforce change. The government has accepted all these points, and by the time this book is published, we should have the details of what regulation will look like. When we launched our manifesto in October 2020, we couldn't have imagined how quickly events would turn to see so many of our concerns addressed.
I must congratulate David Bernstein for bringing this group together and having the foresight and knowledge that the breaking point was on its way and to be ready and waiting to pounce.
But football in this country is in a similar place to the banks in 2008 or in newspapers in 2011, where entire industries had to reform. A crisis always accelerates change, and probably COVID and the war in Ukraine are the reason why the creaking structures that previously held the game together now appear so vulnerable. The governance that was set in place 30 years ago when the Premier League was formed wasn't even right then. Since then, globalisation, oligarchs and nation-states have overwhelmed the game's authorities.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.